Hey guys, I wanted to show you some shoulder mobility maintenance exercises that you can do. And basically what you need to know about the shoulder is that it's our most mobile joint, which makes it really susceptible to injury. And it's just basically a very mobile joint. You can do all kinds of different things with your shoulder. So when you're doing pull-ups or push-ups, you're lifting weights up overhead. If you're not using correct form or you don't have good control over your body and the movements that you're doing, your chances of injury really increase. So I want to show you a couple things that really work for me. These are super basic, but I found them to be really helpful. I have had a shoulder issue for a good over half my life, and a lot of the problems that I run into are lack of mobility in my left shoulder. So I work really diligently on maintaining good scapular stability, core stability, mobility in the left shoulder joint, and just taking good care of my thoracic spine and making sure I have good extension and that I'm not further injuring myself. So a couple things that you need to know. First of all, if you're doing an exercise, say a push-up or a pull-up, and you feel a sharp stabbing pain or an unfamiliar pain that you know is not muscle related or anything like that, what you need to do is you need to stop it immediately, no matter what. And just, if you're in the middle of a workout on your own, you can do kind of like human nature is we want to move our arms around and go, oh, okay, what is that? And you want to see if you can feel it again or recreate the pain. Don't do that if it's obviously something that can intensify in pain and discomfort. But kind of just assess the situation really quick, touch it. If it doesn't hurt to move your shoulder, try to check full range of motion. Again, if you do start to feel pain, stop doing all of that and discontinue the exercise that you're doing. So if you're living right now with something that's just uncomfortable or keeps flaring up, like a chronic pain, and you're not quite sure what it is, before you exercise, you have a pretty big responsibility, and you need to make sure that some blood flow gets into the shoulder joint, into the muscles surrounding the shoulder, to make sure that the exercises that you're about to go into are more comfortable and don't further exacerbate that injury or that pain. So first I'm going to show you is with a broomstick. All you need is a basic broomstick, and you want something that's long enough to accommodate your arm length. This is a little bit too short for me, but I'm going to show you what I do. I probably would need another couple inches on the end, so you can get something like a dowel rod from Home Depot or something like that. Something pretty long, and basically what you're going to do is you're going to come to the ends of that stick, and you're going to just stand up, kind of tuck your pelvis, in. You don't want to be hyperextended in your lower back, if you can see that. You don't want to have duck butt. You want to pop it in so you're not fully, hyperextending in the lumbar spine. But you're going to come to the ends of the bar here, and you're going to bring it back behind you and then forward. And while you're doing that, you just want to maintain good spinal alignment, which can sometimes be difficult to feel. And again, this is a little bit too short for me, but it's going to work just fine. And you'll know it's too short because your arm will want to do something like that. You'll have a little bit of a compensation. So you just want it to be one smooth motion up and over. And again, as you're doing this, if you feel more pain, stop doing it. This isn't for everybody. It depends on the kind of shoulder issue that you have. So listen to your body. And after a few of these, you'll start to warm the area up, making this a lot more comfortable, and it'll start to feel good. So what I do is 20 total, so forward and back would be 1. I do 20 of those at a nice even tempo. I don't race through it, take my time, and I allow myself to be a little bit more aware of what's going on over here. So as I'm coming forward and back, after 5-10 reps of this, I'm starting to feel warmed up. And you want to be aware of your body as you're going through each of these things too. So pay attention to what's going on as you're coming forward and back. The next thing I'm going to show you is with a very skinny super band. And what you're going to do here is find this is a super band pull aparts. So you're going to find a good distance with your hands here apart. If you're too close, this is going to be really hard to pull. So experiment with hand width apart and see what works best for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this apart, and I'm going to push my chest forward, and my grip is just going to stay right like this. I'm going to keep tension in the band, so I'm not going to let it get slack in it at all like this. It's just going to stay right about there. And I'm going to pull, keep tension, push my chest forward. Again, just trying to draw some blood into this area, get it warmed up. I don't want to overwork it or stress it out. If I start to feel any pain while I do this, I stop. Normally I don't feel anything. You're gonna get a nice scapular retraction with this, or you should. And again, I'm gonna start feeling nice and warm. Tension is still in the band, so even on that negative, I'm still feeling that in my rear delts and really the whole shoulder. 20 of these, so I'm going 20 with the broomstick, 20 super band pull aparts with a thin band that doesn't cause you to have to compensate your body in any way. If you find it to be too hard to pull, it's not gonna hit the shoulder, so you're gonna start using chest, back, core, moving all around. So choose an appropriate band for that. Don't overwork your shoulders. This is a warm up. So number 3 is with the lacrosse ball. I prefer the lacrosse ball over anything else because I like how sturdy it is. I like the rubber, it grips to the floor, it doesn't slip out from under you like a baseball or a tennis ball. Tennis ball is not, in my opinion, hard enough, and I need a lot of pressure on my scapula if I'm gonna work this area out. So due to my shoulder issue, I tend to have a buildup of tension in my trap, up in here, and then into my scapula, so around the shoulder blade area, right about in there. So what I do here is some trigger point. I work out that tissue. I mash that tissue. If you're familiar with Kelly Starrett's book, Becoming a Supple Leopard, if you don't have it, own it. But he talks a lot about using the lacrosse ball and the foam roller in the thoracic spine, in the lats, to help with opening up this area and allowing the shoulder to do its job. A quick note about the shoulder, why you're working around the shoulder rather than putting pressure on it, which you can do, I'll show you in a second. What you want to do is free up that tissue, open it up, get that trigger point in there, get that tissue relaxed and stretched out, because if it's all tight up in here and I'm trying to do a pull-up, my shoulder is going to get so overworked and so burdened by this stress that I'm trying to put on it, because the scapula, the lats, rhomboids, all those muscles back there are unable to do the job that they need to be doing. So the compensation happens in the shoulder joint, the rotator cuff, all kinds of things could be going on where the shoulder is having to do a job it doesn't need to be doing, should not be doing. Then you have pain that really, shoulder injuries become chronic and they're very difficult to get rid of. So listen to your body, get that chest and thoracic spine opened up. What I'm going to show you next is trigger point in the scapular area. So you're going to come down on the ground. This is going to come underneath your body, much like you were foam rolling, same exact thing. So just place it underneath your shoulder blade, find the spot, and hold it. So probably right about there for me. The other thing I like to do is I like to move my arm around. So I'll do reps of something like this, where I'm going down and then back up, or I'll come over my body with my arm and then bring it right back out. As long as there's not serious, incredible pain in my joint, as long as I'm able to do this, I will do it. I do feel discomfort in the muscle, but not in the joint. So things like that. Now, if you want to intensify this, you're gonna bring your butt up, whoo, and you're just gonna press into that area a little bit more. So lifting your hips up is what's going to add more pressure to those muscles in the scapula. The next area that I'm going to show you with the ball is in the lats, and this can be hard to find sometimes, but just going to bring it back under that, kind of that rear delt lat connection. You're going to relax, make sure you're stable with your legs supporting you in some way, this hand supporting you in some way. I go thumbs up position, and then you can lean and just kind of find the tender area and hold it. How long you want to hold it, 30 to 60 seconds, make sure you're breathing. You can roll around, and then, ooh, there's another spot. Whoo. And I'm on the muscle, by the way. I'm not jamming this up into my socket of my shoulder. It's getting pretty close, but it's not quite there. And what should happen is that this area will start to relax and the pain will start to go away. And then when I come up and I'm ready to work out, I'm ready to do my push-ups, pull-ups, my overhead, my bench press, whatever it is I'm ready to do, I have all this more freedom of movement. So all you're doing is you're creating more freedom around the joint. So the muscles are getting kind of loosened up, and now my shoulder can move more freely without pain, without restriction. I have more mobility, more flexibility. I lessen my likelihood of injuring this shoulder now. Another thing I recommend doing is if you're experiencing chronic shoulder pain, get some ice on that thing. So 15 minutes, twice a day, 3 times a day. It's a pain. I also think it's kind of, people think it's like overrated, like, oh yeah, whatever. But follow that like standard protocol for injury: rest, ice, compression, elevation. With the shoulder, it's really just going to be ice. Could probably compress it a little bit with, I don't know, KT tape or like something. But ice is like, go to your freezer, get some ice twice a day at the very least. Give it a good couple days. And these are my tips. You know, these 3 pieces of equipment, super cheap, super easy to find. 20 reps of the broomstick, 20 reps of the Superman pull apart, and then spend a good 3 to 5 minutes just rolling around in that lacrosse ball. You can do both sides, so even if you have just pain on one side, don't forget about the other side. It won't hurt to hit both sides, up into the lats, rear delts, scapula, all that area. Get to know that area. If you sit a lot throughout the day, you gotta take good care of that thoracic spine. Thoracic spine is your middle back, and all the muscles up in that area, because when they get tight, lats get tight, pecs get short and tight, you round forward, and then when you come and try to work out by lifting weights, doing anything overhead in this position, you're forcing your body to come into a position that for 8, 10, 12 plus hours plus sleep, you have not been doing. So your body gets really good at doing the things that it does the most. If that's sitting in funky positions, this for 1 hour of your day is going to feel very uncomfortable and potentially put you at risk for injuring your joints. So take good care of your body. Do these every day before a workout, every day in general, just for maintenance. Won't take you longer than probably 8 to 10 minutes, if that. And I'll talk to you guys soon.